just the opposite.
High fly ball, deep left field. Oh, 27 does it again.
God, Fernando Tatis Jr. with a 2-run shot has the Padres on the board. Ball and 2 strikes to Shohei here. Oh,
Got it, got it, got it! 33!
Oh, wow. Where did that one go? That's his 11th home run.
Driven out to deep center field. Going back, Springer, turning, looking, see ya! Oh, what a shot by Judge! The Yankees lead 1-0.
What is up, guys? Welcome to Free Baseball. It's Monday and it's 4 p.m. We got to fix that graphic that says 5 p.m. on that thing. So that's on me. But how's everybody going? Happy baseball, like I said. I'm in a great mood. I don't know about you guys, but how do you feel, Davis? How do you feel, Mr. Giant over there? How do you feel?
Feel great. You know, first weekend of baseball is over with. Plenty more to come. Super happy.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I'm super pumped. I missed a lot of baseball this weekend, started a new job, so missed a lot of stuff this weekend, but I'm pumped to be back home watching baseball today.
Well, I'll tell you all about it if you want. If you want to hear about my Yankees and how they did, it was a very good weekend. I mean, it ended on a weak note yesterday, but you know, we got a lot of stuff to get into, just like we mentioned last week. Of course, we were going to have some games, but free agency and it's still not over, and we still, of course, have some moves that teams are making early on. I think there's no reason but to get right into it, unless you guys have any opening sentiments. Are you ready to go?
Let's get it.
Ready to go.
Let's do it. So now, Tampa Bay, you know, this shouldn't shock anyone because this is something they do like every few years. They'll build the top. They're like the opposite of the, I'm sorry, Jake, the opposite of the Athletics. They build stars and they do send them elsewhere, but they seem to get better every time and they just find ways to just make it work. So I'm not questioning them anymore. Like these two kind of moves. They did trade Austin Meadows to the Tigers, which, by the way, look out for the Tigers. Maybe not this season. I don't know, but look out for them. But anyway, that's besides the point. They get Isaac Paredes, and they get a competitive balance B pick for the 22 draft. What do you – I mean, do we even doubt Tampa Bay at this point? I mean, Meadows is a really nice player, but I think they know what they're doing here.
Well, yeah, like we'll touch on later. This just freed up space for the Rays to just call up another top prospect. You know, they're always thinking ahead. You see them trade one of their best players away in Austin Meadows to the Tigers, which is a big upgrade for the Tigers. You know, they got space in the outfield. They're looking to compete this year after being around 500 for most of last year. But they freed up space to call up Josh Lowe, and it looks like it's going to pay off. And Isaac Paredes seems just like a guy that the Rays are just going to get the most out of, just like a top prospect, like maybe not like top 50, but like near the top 100. Didn't sort of get off to a hot start in the first couple of years of his career, but now has an opportunity to play all over the infield for the Rays. And they're going to just get the most out of him and probably turn him into a really solid role player.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Jake said. At first, I didn't really get this before they called up Lowe. You know, their infield depth kind of looked a little crowded, and then trying to add Isaac Paredes to it, which he is just going to be a role player, and giving up a bat like Meadows, hoping that Lowe can kind of replace some of that production because, like you'll mention here in a minute, looking at the rundown, their outfield offense wasn't looking very good after this move before calling up Lowe. But with that call up and that caveat, I like the move. I think it makes sense for the Rays, and like you said, and like Jake said, I mean, this is a franchise that basically always looks like they know what they're doing. So it's hard to really down them too much over it.
Yeah, and you know, Tampa Bay, they deserve so much. Well, not Tampa Bay, but the Rays deserve so much better than what they get. You know, the attendance numbers isn't always the best, yet they've been competitive like year in and year out, and they just know how to do it. And so they're just a really well-run organization. And sticking with them, of course, they did also extend Manuel Margot, another guy, you know, they just tend to get the most out of. Is he like a perennial all-star? No, but it's another piece that they sign up for 2 years, 19 million. What is there to be said about that, Davis? What do you think about that one?
I'm kind of iffy on it. I don't really see what Manny Margot really provides them other than pretty solid outfield defense. He's not really the best hitter, and the Rays desperately need offense. I mean, it's been the story of the last couple of years. They'll make these deep playoff runs and make the playoffs on the back of just being a good team in the regular season, pitching and defense, and then their offense doesn't show up in the playoffs. They don't really have any big bats to kind of carry them along other than like Brandon Lau, now Wander Franco, and previously Austin Meadows. So I don't know. The move's kind of like a nothing move in my mind. Margot's not a negative bat, but he's not really much of a positive either.
Totally agree. Yeah, he's a big defender out in center field. He's definitely going to be the replacement for Kiermaier, who's set to hit free agency after this year. Margot was also set to hit free agency after this year, so they'll buy out the first 2 years of his free agency eligibility, with the opportunity to buy out a third year with a mutual option. Not a huge move, but the Rays know what to do with good defenders out in center field, and they've gotten the most out of Kiermaier in the past, and they'll probably do the same with Margot.
Yeah, more or less. I think we're all in agreement there. And sticking with the extension talks, unfortunately, it doesn't include one particular guy that I just don't want to mention today. Let's go to Jose Ramirez, 5 years, $125 million. He's been a really productive player all around for Cleveland in their best times and their worst times. And it's their franchise record. Did I said the Guardians? No, probably not. Anyway, sorry. So, again, what is there to make of this? I mean, I think it's good. He gets paid. I mean, he probably could have gotten more throughout his career, but hey, $25 million a year, he's doing just fine. How do you feel about that one, Jake?
Yeah, it definitely seems below market. I think Jose Ramirez is easily a top 10 player. He should be getting a lot more than 25 million, probably close to 30 million, especially because he's like still in his prime. Like you said, it's a franchise record contract, so it's a lot for the Guardians to give up. But I think Jose Ramirez could have done a lot better. Maybe he really likes Cleveland. I haven't heard that from a lot of people. I've never been there myself. But yeah, he's got the full no trade clause, so there's a guarantee that he's going to be around for quite some time there. And it exercises the option that he had on his last extension for next year. So that gets it up to, I think, 6 years, 150 or something like that. But yeah, he was going to be a free agent after that 23 season. So that buys out 5 years of his free agency. So I don't know. Yeah, it seems like Ramirez could have done a lot better on the open market, but the Guardians were willing to spend up for a guy that's been their best player for the last few years.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like the move a lot for Cleveland and not so much for Jose Ramirez because it's nice to see Cleveland, who are one of the losers of the offseason because they didn't really do anything, actually extend Jose Ramirez, hopefully avoiding another enjoy him while we have him situation like they had with Lindor. Me and Jake talked about this too when it happened, and I kind of agree with Jake on, I feel like the only reason Cleveland did this was because they got him on a below market deal. And I'm hoping this doesn't end up like an Arenado situation where he's got the full no trade and they're basically going to commit to him for now. And if things don't go quite how they think they will, they're just going to dump him, try to trade him, which they'd get back a king's ransom. For my money, I think he's the best third baseman in baseball. I think this is a good move for Cleveland. Jose Ramirez signed. He probably deserved a lot more money than this. And Cleveland have looked okay so far. I mean, we'll talk about one of the reasons why later. But I don't know. Good move for Cleveland. I'm kind of on the fence for Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, I figured, I know we were going to talk about something else afterwards, but I figured this is the perfect transition. Speaking of, maybe Ramirez just simply wanted to just, let me just secure the bag now. Who knows what's going to happen during the regular season. One other guy that probably was thinking the same thing, especially with his early injury issues, is Ke'Bryan Hayes from the Pittsburgh Pirates, who actually spent some money. I mean, not a lot of money in comparison to everybody else, but they did decide to keep Hayes and take a slight gamble, but low risk, high reward, in my opinion. While Ke'Bryan Hayes, he probably, he's another guy that's just kind of going to be probably underpaid, but it's early in his career. Who knows what he's going to turn out to be? So how do you feel about this? Same question, I guess, with the Ramirez. How do you feel for him, and how do you feel for the Pirates with this deal, Jake?
Yeah, it's another franchise record contract. The Pirates and the Guardians and the A's were like the three teams that had just horribly low levels of franchise record contracts, so they were pretty easy to break. I think the most notable thing about Brian's contract is that it's the largest for a player between 1 and 2 years of service time, which is super interesting. Like a lot of guys have been getting extended around this time in their career pretty recently, so pretty cool to see Brian get that despite not having tons of success despite that short sample in 2020. But yes, that's pretty good for him. He's a really good defender, probably top 3, top 5 at third base, and he's got the bat to go with it. Let's hope he can lean into it a little more, grow into his bat a little bit more. But yeah, like you said, 8 years, $70 million extension, buys out 3 years of free agency with a possible 4th year with a club option. So he's going to be a Pittsburgh Pirate for a while, and let's hope that team can get a little better while he continues to grow as a third baseman.
Yeah, I like this move a lot for Pittsburgh and for Ke'Bryan Hayes. Ke'Bryan Hayes kind of struggled with injuries so far, but when he's actually gotten to play, we saw in the shortened season just how good he can, like he really can be. And I love this move for the Pirates, spending a little bit of money. And I like the Pirates farm system a lot more than I know a few do. They've got a pretty good crop coming up. Henry Davis, O'Neal Cruz, the big one that they left off the roster. Obviously, he'll come up at some point this year. They did call up Roansy Contreras, but and they also have Quinn Priester waiting in the wings. They just have a lot of really good prospects that are kind of flying a little bit under the radar compared to the huge names. I like their farm system a lot. I think they've got a pretty good young team, especially if they don't trade Brian Reynolds. I know there's been a lot of talk about them getting rid of him, but I think they should avoid that. I like this move a lot for both parties. It makes a lot of sense.
Word of advice for Pittsburgh: just stay away from Chris Archer. Okay, don't get any ideas. Don't go ahead and trade. Even trading Reynolds, in my opinion, is just, I don't know, man. I just like you said, you have anytime you have something good in Pittsburgh, it's just you take 5 steps backwards every time. Or sometimes literally we saw last season against Chicago, literally running back to home plate. Like, this is just what Pittsburgh has done. And I have a certain respect for Pittsburgh Pirates as a franchise because of Roberto Clemente is one of my favorite players. So naturally, I kind of want to see them do well, but it's just like, my goodness, like it's just such a bad run organization up to this point. And before we get to the particular trade that happened on, I guess we may as well just wrap up with these extensions. We also got J.P. Crawford, who signed a 5-year, $51 million extension. Buys out 2 years of free agency. He is who he is. I guess $10 million a year. It reminds me of the Hicks deal. I guess he just one less thing to worry about. So how do you feel about that, Davis?
I actually like this move a lot for the Mariners. I think J.P. Crawford is a really underrated player. He's one of the best defenders in the league at shortstop. His bat has gotten better every single year he's been in the league, and he's still relatively young. I want to say he's in his mid to late 20s. He is 27. So I like this move a lot for the Mariners. They've signed and traded for a lot of bats, and keeping J.P. Crawford around, who's been a leader in that clubhouse. You saw down the playoff stretch last year, he was like one of the big vocal leaders talking about how much it meant to him. Keeping a guy like that around that clearly loves the franchise and loves being in that situation, that's a real plus with the glove, and getting better with the bat. I think he had a 103 WRC plus, which is slightly better than league average. And with the defense, that's as good as you can hope for, really. I love this move for the Mariners. It makes a lot of sense. His contract as a whole isn't very expensive either. 5-year, $51 million extension. That's not too crazy. What do you feel about it, Jake?
Yeah, well said. Not much else to say there. He's a great defender at shortstop. That's always underrated. I think defense is always very underrated. They're not paying him too much, even if his bat sort of falls off to where it was before last year when he sort of had a little mini breakout. Then he's still gonna provide value with his glove. Great contact hitter, probably a great clubhouse guy. Not really 100% sure on that front, but if he loves the team, I'm sure he's fun to be around.
Absolutely. And if you're the Mariners, that's just one less thing to worry about for the next few years. And when you're building Mariners, by the way, another team to look out for, like they're coming too very soon.
Yep. Watch out, Astros.
So yeah. Oh my God. I hope so. I hope anyway, moving forward. So I should have mentioned this right after Ramirez. We also had Miles Straw, who it's apparent to me that Ramirez said, "Hey, look, unless you sign Myles Straw to 5 year." Okay, so no, but yeah, that's another thing. 5 years, 25 million, 2 club options. I mean, it's a meh thing to me because it's the Guardians, but hey, he gets a little payday there and some job security potentially over the next few years. How do you feel about that, Jake?
Yeah, he's one of the fastest guys in the MLB. Of course, the Guardians wanted to keep him around because they just have so few outfielders that are actually any good, and Straw can show that contact ability and speed on the base paths. Buys out 1 year free agency with a possible second and third year with those club options, so he could be around for quite some time as well, up to 7 years. And I'm pretty sure, like you just said, Joe Ram didn't want to sign his extension without Straw being around. And when Straw got traded to the team last year, I'm pretty sure they actually became pretty good friends. So maybe that really was a big consideration for him.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jake. I mean, the Indians have had a track record of not being able to develop any outfielders at all, outside of like Michael Brantley, and that's like the only real case there. The contract is really, really cheap. It's 5 years, 25 million. He's a plus in center field defense. He's very fast. Got a good contact ability. Not a super elite hitter or anything, but I mean, he's a solid player, and they got him what looks like a pretty cheap rate, which is, the Guardians special has to be cheap, or we're not going to get him. And I think there's a little bit more smoke, a little bit more fire to that smoke, talking about the J Ram extension with him. They are pretty good friends. Maybe he threw him a bone.
There you go. Like LeBron James was in Cleveland getting his friends paid, getting J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson played. So yeah, there we go. So then of course we got one more, I believe one more extension here so far. Mm-hmm. Garrett Whitlock, the Red Sox, maybe their biggest problem is their bullpen. I mean, they're a work in progress in my opinion, and a slight bias towards negativity towards them. So what do you think about that one, Davis? I mean, is it much to do anything? Like, should I worry? Should I care as a Yankee fan? I don't think I should.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent move. It's nothing like really going to put the Red Sox over the top, extending Garrett Whitlock. He's been a pretty solid reliever his first few years. I mean, he was pretty good last year. 196 ERA with a 2.84 FIP. Yeah, he's a good reliever. In a bullpen that honestly looks really kind of outside of like Diekman and Strom. Not super good so far. Matt Barnes kind of been on a downswing. Hopefully getting young arms to rejuvenate it a little bit. The Red Sox like to develop a lot of their relievers as opposed to signing them, which I think is a good choice. So, yeah, it's not a nothing move, but it's not one that's like, oh, wow, the Red Sox are insane now.
It's pretty cool for Whitlock, though. I'm pretty sure he had Tommy John surgery prior to 2019. He was recovering in 2020, and then he was a Rule 5 draft pick in 2020 prior to 2021, where he joined the Red Sox. He was a Yankees prospect actually before, and broke out with the Red Sox, and just after 1 year now he's getting a big old extension, possibility to stay with the club for 6 years, make a lot more money. That's pretty cool, especially because he's a guy that came up as a starter, and he had so much success in the bullpen. So you could definitely envision him staying in the bullpen and continuing to perform really well. And you could also see him being stretched out in the future and heading into that rotation and being really good. And I think either way, he's going to be a pretty solid, underrated addition. Relievers are usually pretty underrated. But yeah, the Red Sox got themselves a good guy there for quite some time now. Let's hope for the best for him, unless you're a Yankees fan.
Yes. No, in all honesty, like you said, the Tommy John surgery, of course, I'm glad that he's getting paid, and in reality, he's on a team that, that's going to compete on a yearly basis. Let's be honest, right? So it's a good position for him. And again, relievers matter. So
they do.
Always remember that. So now we're pretty much done with the extensions. We are done with the extensions. Let's go. We had one significant trade anyway, right? We had the Twins. They traded Taylor Rogers and Brent Rooker. I think Taylor Rogers is probably going to be slated to be the Padres closer, right?
Yeah, he's already got 2 saves so far this season.
Yeah, there you go. So, and we got Chris Paddock heading the other way, and Emilio Pagan. One of my good friends on my fantasy baseball team will tell me Chris Paddock is not good in gift form. I don't know why, but What do you guys think about this, Davis? I mean, I think for the Twins, it's interesting. I mean, Paddock is not that great apparently, but he's not bad either. So,
I like this move for the Twins. All they really had to do is give up Taylor Rogers. I think this is pretty solid for them. Getting Chris Paddock and Emilio Pagan to replace Brent Rooker and Taylor Rogers. I mean, they needed a starter really bad. They kind of were banking on Sonny Gray and Dylan Bundy and a couple young guys to really kind of shoulder that load that they really needed to be carried if they really want to contend. Chris Paddock is potentially due as a bounce back candidate. He's been pretty bad the last few years with San Diego, but his underlying numbers aren't that bad. Yeah, I think this is a pretty solid move for both sides. San Diego, their bullpen ERA last year wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Then they just really needed a little bit more help and consistency, and Taylor Rogers has been that. And Emilio Pagan has kind of been the opposite of that. So I like this move for both sides.
Totally agree. The Padres have a lot of depth guys in their bullpen. I think a lot of guys that don't really fit in as the closer, but would do really well in like the 6th, 7th, 8th innings. And Rogers has experience with the closer job. I'm sure they could use another lefty there as well. I sort of like the Twins getting Paddock. That's pretty interesting, especially because they get Pagan back as well. So, if like Rogers is gone and, they really need another solid relief arm. Pagan has been that for the last couple years, and Rooker wasn't really catching on, and they have lots of outfield talent, so there wasn't really much space for him. And Paddock, like you guys said, he wasn't too great for the last couple years after having an amazing 2019 debut. But if you look at the underlying numbers, Davis, you said not much has changed. He's still throwing the same kind of stuff. He hasn't lost any velo, maybe just a little bit of command and feel for that changeup. But he's been really unlucky the last couple of years. Like the left on base rates are super low. His BABIP's pretty high, and his home run to fly ball rate is pretty insane. So I think with some tutelage from the Twins pitching coaches that he will be able to turn things around a little. Probably just needed that change of scenery.
Yeah, I agree. And if you're the Padres, you have so much starting pitching over there. Like that at this point, really good rotations. Like you said, Chris Paddock is kind of expendable at that point. So let's move forward. It was an exciting opening weekend. Okay, especially for me. Like I said, I'm not here to brag or anything, but we're one game over 500 here. So let me just say, we look really good. So anyway, we'll get to that in a bit. But we had a lot of debuts, a lot of guys that have started off, some not so well, but it's only a weekend, so I don't think there's no need to panic much. Now, I did see one of my friends, former writer for the Athlete Sub. He seemed to be a little bit panicky about Torque. I don't know if it's like time to hit the button yet. I mean, it's only a weekend. I mean, they are going to give him a day to sit. So we have a lot of rookie debuts, but I kind of wanted to start there. I mean, what can you expect? I mean, he's not going to come in and go 5 for 5 with 5 home runs. Actually, we might have somebody actually did something similar to that. We'll get to him later. But what do you think so far about Torque? And should we be concerned at all? It's just 2 games. How do you feel?
I don't think we should. I don't think we should be concerned. I drafted him in a couple of my fantasy leagues, so obviously I'm not. I'm a little nervous, but I'm not overly concerned. I think everybody thinks that rookies will get off to a hot start. Everybody always talks about how Mike Trout struggled in his September debut prior to his full rookie season. Torkelson's just getting his feet under him. Like if this was the middle of the season and he had like an 0 for 12 or whatever, nobody would be saying anything. It happens. Like that's how baseball is. There's ups and downs. You fail a lot more than you succeed. And I think Torkelson's probably doing the right thing. He's not striking out a ton. Like if you look at how Joe Adell's doing right now, he struck out, I think like 9 times in 12 at bats or something crazy like that. Torkelson is not striking out like that much. I think it's like 4 times in 12 at bats, which isn't great, but it's not like, oh man, like he's not even seeing the ball out of the pitcher's hands. I'm sure he's got some nerves, but he's definitely going to get it under him. He's just too good of a top prospect to struggle this much early on.
Right. I completely agree with that. I mean, it's 3 games in. He's got 11 plate appearances. I mean, he's walked 3 times. It's the opening day weekend. It's tough to really take a lot away from like a bad performance, because like Jake said, if this was in the middle of the season and he went 0 for 12, no one would even notice. So yeah, I'm not out on Torkelson. I think he's still probably one to watch. There's been a couple other prospects that haven't had the best start to the season too. We'll talk about them in a little bit, but no, we'll talk about like some prospect upsides and like things that have surprised us, which are really good. But looking at stuff like this, I'm not gonna hit the panic button, anything like that, anytime soon.
No, yeah, you definitely can't. You know what I think it maybe stems from? Because, everybody expected Kelenic last season to come up with the Mariners and start just smacking home runs all over the place. And it didn't quite go that way, but that's just how the league is sometimes. It just takes a minute. You could be Gary Sanchez in your first season and smack like 20 home runs in 2 months and look like the next Babe Ruth. And now you're just Gary Sanchez. So, so not that that's bad. He did hit a grand slam. Shout out, Gary. Hope you're doing good.
Did.
Okay, but but speaking of the Mariners and one of their top prospects, of course, we had Julio Rodriguez. Also, not the greatest start yet, but he did have a really good interview yesterday when I was watching the game, Yankees and Sox, with A-Rod and Michael Kay and that little cast. It was really cool, and they showed like the moment where he found out he was going to make the big league roster.
That video was sick.
Big time. J-Rod is awesome, and I'm wishing him the best. But similar to Torque, not the greatest start yet. What did you take so far from that? Start with Davis this time.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say again. I mean, they played the Twins, and the Twins field dimensions are kind of weird. Did get a hit, big hit actually too, and in that series, I believe it tied the game up. But I don't know. It's trying to take away from prospects struggling in like three or so games. I'm not gonna be like, oh no, they suck. Like there's 162 games. Baseball is famously a marathon, not a sprint. So I don't know. I'm not out on J-Rod. I know what he is, and we all know who he is. He's going to come good, and I don't think it's going to take that long either.
Yeah, I mean, the jump from AA to the major leagues is super hard. People are always saying recently that the jump from AAA to the major leagues hasn't never been as hard as it is right now. So imagine jumping from a level below that. So Julio's got like a lot to learn. I'm sure he's really young for a major leaguer, but he's got all the talent in the world. He's sure to come around at some point. I haven't gotten to watch any of his at bats so far, like I said, because I was working this weekend, but I'm excited. I think he's going to turn it around. Like having these struggles early on definitely helps you learn as a player, what not to do, learn from your mistakes, that kind of things. Like that's what I always tell people when I sort of like struggle in my own life, where it's like, oh, I wouldn't trade these struggles that I've had in my own life because I can learn from them and I can grow from them. And I think that's what Julio is going through right now as a young player.
Yes. And I want to couple this next guy. I want to talk about Bobby Witt Jr. also, but I want to pair it with a question. Because one thing I did see a lot of people saying, it's kind of not important, but you're hopeful that these, at least a portion of these guys getting called up so early on, can catch a little fire, because there's a lot of people saying, see, look, that's why they waited till midseason. It's too early. You got to, move forward. I'm starting to see that a little bit. I don't believe that. Like I said, it's only been a weekend, so let's relax a little bit. But how important is it for maybe at least over the course of the next month to see a guy like, for example, Bobby Witt Jr. succeed? Because there's been some hype around him as well. So what did you take from him? And do you buy that it's kind of important for at least some of these guys to catch fire in the first month?
I don't know if it's totally important that these guys catch fire. Like who cares what the haters are saying? Those guys that are saying these prospects need to hit right away to prove that this new CBA is doing justice for them. It's just like, do you really know that much about baseball? Like it's been a few days, you can't really judge somebody based off that. And also it's just like, all you're doing is advocating for service time manipulation. It's pretty goofy. Yeah, Bobby Witt, he's looked pretty solid so far, and I think the most surprising thing for me, since I've been watching this Royals Guardians game this morning, is his defense is so good. He's so good at third base. He's had to move to third base after coming up as a shortstop so far, but he's been amazing over there, like making diving stops, coming in on bunts, just making all the hard and difficult, tough plays out there, and that's what's impressed me the most. And his bat has sort of he hasn't hit any home runs or anything, but he had that game-winning RBI double in his debut, which was super sick. Go ahead RBI double, not game winning, but led to them getting the win. But yeah, I think he's already looking like he's ready for the major leagues.
Yeah, I completely agree with Jake. He's just kind of looked a little unlucky so far. He's not striking out. I know that's what we talked about with Torque. But Bobby Witt Jr. is like not striking out at all. It's not really walking either. He's just not catching breaks. And they play in Kauffman, which Kauffman Stadium's, famously like, it's
huge.
a pitcher's park. And like Jake said, he's a great defender. I don't really think and put a lot of stock into hitters need to really have like a hot start. Some of these like that, like Bobby Witt Jr. is on a Royals team that's kind of projected to be around the bottom of their division. I think they're going to be better than a lot of people think, but there's no real downside to starting them with the big league club now and getting them used to big league pitching instead of trying to delay that. When your team's not really going to compete, it doesn't make any sense. Like J-Rod at least has a little bit more like of an impetus for him to produce, just because the Mariners expect to be in contention to win that division or for a wild card spot. But even then, he's just one piece in a 9-man, lineup. Yeah. So if he's not completely carrying his weight, it's not going to be that much of a difference. I don't know. I don't put really any stock into hitters really need to start off hot or else it's all downhill. He could have a terrible first 3 months and really pick it up towards the back end of the season. And then, everyone's still going to be like, wow, Bobby Witt's Bobby Witt, Spencer Torkelson's hitting 1 million home runs. Like that's what people are going to remember. Not, oh, he kind of sucked in April or he wasn't very good in May.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think you bring up a good point. I don't think people take into account, good results doesn't just entail hitting. It doesn't just mean you're going up there and smacking a home run every at bat. It's just how comfortable are you up there? Like Bobby Witt has looked. It just looks natural to him. He looks like like he's been there for a couple years already, and I think that matters big time. But I guess like maybe there's slight concern of like maybe like if say for example like 90% of these guys struggle, other teams in the future looking at their top prospects like, but this hasn't really had a good success rate. Maybe we should wait. Again, I don't buy it. I'm just playing a little devil's advocate there. So, now, speaking of starting hot, there is one guy that has started hot. I kind of joked about it earlier. He did go 5 for 5, and he's had a good start. What do you take from Steven Kwan? Is it just a little bit of a like pump the brakes a little bit? Don't go crazy with the expectations. But hey, like if there's any way to start off your career, this is how you do it. And I know Davis was like, yo, we got to talk about this guy. So let's do it. What do you think, Davis?
Yeah, I'm all over it. Hit the Kwan, everybody. Steven Kwan, if you guys watch Foolish Baseball, he was really, really high on this guy. The guy genuinely, he does not strike out. He patently refuses to. He has excellent bat to ball skills, and that's been really evident. Yet to strike out. He's got 3 walks. He went 8 for 10 with a 5-hit game. He's just been really good. And he wasn't even really, I know certain people were high on him and certain people were just kind of writing him off as like, whatever. He's just going to be another like Bradley Zimmer or some random guy that's going to come up in Cleveland's outfield. That's not really going to do much of anything. If this guy ends up being pretty decent, he's obviously not going to continue 8 for 10. But if he ends up,
sure?
Well, maybe, if he even continues at kind of this rate, he's going to be a huge piece for Cleveland actually being a dark horse in that division.
Especially because they need all the outfield help they can get. I was super in on Kwan even before Foolish Baseball posted that video.
You drafted him in your big league, didn't you?
I did, yeah, like super early on in the offseason in like January. Yeah, I drafted him because he walked more than he struck out in the minor leagues. He batted over 300. He's one of those like really underrated guys, like how Nicky Lopez sort of was in the minor leagues. Nicky Lopez didn't walk as much as Steven Kwan does, but just that bat to ball skill, that ability to control the strike zone, you don't really find that at young players, and that really helps guys like that succeed right when they come up. And that's what we've seen with Kwan. He's able to bloop the ball over the shortstop's head, like smash one down the line, draw his walks, get hit by pitches, that kind of stuff, just all the little things. And he has not swung and missed since the beginning of spring training.
Wow,
that's incredible.
Hasn't swung and missed. Are you kidding me? So that is something
what
else. So, we could go the whole show if you want. We could just,
Steven
talk
Kwan
about
show.
That. The Kwan show. Matter of fact, we're gonna
That'd
start
be a good podcast.
Yeah, let's do it.
A successful
So,
one.
I mean, if he keeps this 8 for 10
Maybe
thing
after
going,
deep
we may
takes for
have
3.
to make a podcast just directed around him. So now now I have a interesting one with CJ Abrams. Of course, he's starting, playing shortstop right now for the Padres, right? Now it's, I mean, again, I'm not going to put no stock into the performance so far. I mean, he looks decent in my opinion. Is he going to be decent enough to kick Tatis out of shortstop and keep him in the outfield? You did see Tatis play a little outfield last season. I mean, what is there to make of this, or do you think Abrams just going to find his way somewhere else on this team? What did you take so far, Jake? I saw that face.
Yeah.
What you think?
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of him play. I saw his first major league hit, which was cool. A little ball hit to the left side of the infield, and it got through the shortstop. But yeah, he's more like a contact speed guy. I think he could fit really well at second base. I think Tatis is really good at shortstop. Maybe they do end up moving him to the outfield, but not because of ability, more so just to keep him from getting injured. And having a guy like CJ Abrams and Hot Junction that can all good. Having guys like that can fill the shortstop position defensively definitely makes it easier for them to possibly move that. But I don't think based on ability that he's going to take the job from Tatis when he does get back, but he's pretty interesting. I mean, they have room to move him. They can put him at second base. They can move Cronenworth to first. They can put Hosmer on the bench, which is probably the best spot for him. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be knocking out one of the best players in baseball from his natural position anytime soon.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think he more long-term fits somewhere at second base or in right field personally. I would much rather, personally, from a Padres fan perspective, see CJ Abrams struggle a little bit in right field than watch Will Myers struggle in right field. I just think it doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, the Padres are very clearly not sold on Will Myers. They've been trying to trade him. Same with Hosmer. Why keep giving these guys at bats when you can get guys like CJ Abrams? And when Tatis comes back, everyone knows, he made a bunch of errors at short, but they're not going to take him away from that. I really don't think so. Yeah, I don't think he's going to supplant Tatis at short anytime soon.
So from one guy that's probably, going to be starting at least for the next few months and has a real chance to prove himself. Here's another guy that might find his way. He's not there yet, but he might find his way into the starting lineup. It's not like he has, beating Didi at this point. I'm talking about Bryson Stott. I did see him play a little bit last season when I was watching the Renegades game in the high A, he would come play the Renegade. So it was cool, cool. Anyway, that's a little nugget. It has nothing to do with this. But anyway, where do you see him ending up? I mean, personally, I think he has to find his way into the lineup as long as he, I think it's his to gain. I mean, you're talking about Didi at shortstop right now. Gene Segura, really good player, but I think he could definitely find his way into this lineup. But what do you think, Jake?
Yeah, right now he's I'm pretty sure he's platooning at third base with Alec Boehm. So he's got a spot in the lineup right now. I don't know if he's done anything of note yet. But yeah, he is he's pretty good. In the minors, he batted over 300. He showed power and speed. I think it's going to take him a little while to grow into that as a young player, but he was drafted in the first round a couple of years ago. So he's definitely got the ability. He's got that talent. He's got that potential.
Yeah, I think Bryson Stott is going to find his way into the starting lineup a lot sooner than later, especially if Didi Gregorius kind of continues the trend last year. He was a completely miserable hitter last year
and defender.
Yeah, he's never been a good defender at short, and he's always been there for his bat, and his bat has kind of evaporated. And this is a Phillies team that desperately needs any amount of infield defense or outfield defense they can possibly get. I think if Didi struggles, probably a couple weeks into the season, Didi's going to be on the bench, and Bryson Stott's going to be the starting shortstop.
I love you, Didi. All right, moving on. So now we mentioned this guy earlier. I'm kind of personally looking forward to this guy. I do have him on my team. I've been holding on to him for a while. Josh Lowe. Again, Tampa Bay just knows what they're doing, especially with low guys. Like, they just kind of know. What did you take from his I mean, what do you expect? I don't even want to really talk about their performances so far because it's just so early. But what do you expect from Josh Lowe? I guess Jake.
He's also one of those guys that he's really fast. He's super athletic. He's going to be a good defender out in the outfield, but I'm pretty sure his first major league hit, he like blasted one on the ground that sort of like snuck its way all the way to the outfield wall because the Rays stadium is turf and not dirt, so the ball really sort of will skip along the outfield like that, and that allowed him to get all the way to third base, just show his speed. He's like tall, lanky, he's got the ability to fly on the bases, fly in the outfield, and I think the Rays will do their best to get the most out of his bat as well. So you got one Lowe and you got one Lau on the team, just like they had Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Lowe's brother, before trading him to the Rangers. So that's going to be a little bit confusing for people that aren't super in the know for pronunciation of baseball names.
Yeah, I haven't watched a whole lot of Josh Lowe, but I mean, he's another guy with good bat to ball skills, insanely fast. Like Jake said, I don't have quite a super high expectation on him, but I would expect for him to produce a little bit more in the outfield than like Brett Phillips or Manny Margot. Because I mean, those guys are just not really much of anything as a hitter. So as long as he's out hitting those guys, I think he's probably going to be an everyday guy.
All right, I don't want to spend a ton of time because he again only had 3 at bats. But what do you think about my fellow Puerto Rican guy, Heliot Ramos? And what do you think? Is there some? He's only 22 years old, of course. Early on, let's go. Should I go with the guy with the Giant gear or the Cubs gear? Let's go. Okay.
I'm wearing Giant socks right now. You better call on me. I almost wear a Red Sox hat with this, and I was like, wait, I should probably go with the Giants beanie.
Yes, you made a good choice.
Oh, you're not gonna like me next episode then. Helio Ramos, I've been pumped to see him finally make his debut. He's like a big, strong guy. He's going to have a lot of power. I think he's got a good hit tool too. Super dope to see the Giants call up a top prospect like that, especially with Joey Bart hitting his first major league home run just a couple days ago. So I'm super pumped to see what he can turn into. He had 2 hits in his major league debut as well. So yeah, I mean, if he turns into a star or even just like a really solid hitter in the outfield, I think that could be great for the Giants, who have always been on the lookout for a left fielder that can stick in the lineup for multiple opening days.
Yeah, I really like Heliot Ramos, especially in the minor leagues. He's been really, really good in the minor leagues. And I think if he somehow supplants himself into the Giants' everyday lineup, so they have more room to platoon at other positions, because they've kind of been stuck having to platoon left and right field the last couple of years. If he can just stick in left or right and be an everyday hitter, the Giants' lineup and bench depth is going to be stupid. And I'm really excited to see it, because I love platoons, and the Giants are one of the teams, like we've said it a million times, just pandering to Jake, the Giants know what they're doing.
Thank you.
And with a lot of their depth on their bench and stuff like that, being able to platoon everywhere and have everyday guys like that is just going to push them probably still competing with the Dodgers, in my opinion.
Now, for one guy that did get off to a pretty good start, you got Jeremy Pena, and 16 at bats. He's gotten 6 hits. I mean, got a home run, RBI. Carlos Correa, who? So what do you think? What do you think, Davis? I mean,
I was kind of out on Jeremy Pena to start the year. In our predictions article, I kind of thought, the Astros were really going to sell out to get Correa. They don't get Correa, they're going to really try to get Trevor Story, and they kind of miss on both. Jeremy Pena, so far, it looks like he's going to prove all of us wrong. It is early, but he went 3 for 5. Several, what did he have? 2-3 hit games. He could be a pretty good piece for this Astros team, who are obviously looking to get back to where they were at previously in the World Series. Is he going to quite be Carlos Correa? No, I don't think so. But he looks like a pretty good player.
Yeah, I thought he was super underrated in the offseason. In mid-January, I tweeted that he could be the opening day starter for the Astros at shortstop, so that was a pretty good call. He had a 126 WRC plus at AAA with 10 homers and 5 steals in 2021, and he was going super late in draft. So I said, hey, jump on him now before the Astros don't sign anybody, and he's literally locked into it, and that's exactly what happened. And he looks like he's ready already, and he's got a good glove as well. Like I was saying about Bobby Witt, I think he could stick at shortstop for a while.
Yeah, looks really good. Now, before I get to, there's one guy I want to get to, but first let's get to our one pitcher that we wanted to really note, Hunter Green. He had 7 strikeouts the other day. He was averaging 100 miles per hour on his throughout the game. So I actually do like this guy. I've been following him as well. Next to Lodoto, I don't think I'll ever pronounce his name right. But what did you take from Hunter Green? I mean, is it as expected? We knew he was a hard throwing pitcher, and he got 7K. So I think that's a solid start.
He looked really solid. I think a lot of people's worries were how hittable his fastball was, despite the velo. But I'm pretty sure he was only allowed like one hit through his first 4 innings, which was really solid. This stat that I noticed last night, he lit up the radar last season, according to this season in his debut, according to MLB Pipeline. He delivered 20 pitches at 100 plus miles per hour, which is the 7th most by a starter since Statcast began recording data in 2008. So in the last 14 years, he's got the 7th most single game 100 plus mile per hour pitches, which is pretty impressive in your debut. Sky's the limit for Hunter Green. And also, I know we're going to mention Seiya Suzuki, but I just wanted to throw Joan Duran in there really, really quick, just because he was super impressive out of the bullpen, throwing that 100 miles per hour fastballs and like a 95 mile per hour splitter. It was pretty impressive. I think he's got a special arm, and he could either thrive in the bullpen for the Twins or take off into the rotation in the future.
And
100
miles per hour splitter.
Yeah, Hunter Green was really solid against the Braves. I mean, he's playing the World Series champions. He gave a couple home runs, but I mean, everyone talks about just how insane his fastball is. He's sitting 100 basically the whole game. He got 3 of his 7 strikeouts were with the slider. The slider looked really solid. I think Pitching Ninja posted a couple clips of it. Yeah, Hunter Green is going to be a big name to watch this year. He looked really solid.
Yeah, that's one I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. And now one guy, the reason why I say this man for last, because he's getting paid. He's like, I was gonna pick him up, and I saw he was getting like 17 million in a couple of years. So I'm like, in a salary league, I don't know if I could take that risk on him. But so far, so good. He did smack a homer, 3 hits in. And when we did our draft, I think one of you guys, I think you selected him pretty early. So I want to say it was
Jake.
It was Jake. So I got to start with him. That seems like a great pick so far. So do you like what you see so far?
Yeah, bro. I'm so jealous of Davis having him on his team as on the Cubs. It's got to be fun to watch. I mean, Cubs fans are already taken to him. They love him so much. It seems in just a few games it's probably one of their favorite players on the team. He seems like a super fun guy. He's fun to watch, and one of the most important things, he's got a really good eye. I saw a tweet about Davis might have sent this to me too. I got 2 Cubs friends, so it's hard to keep track, but they both be sending me Seiya Suzuki tweets all day. I think he's got like 29 pitches out of the zone. He's taken 28 of them, or he's taken 27 of them. One of them was called a strike, and one of them was a go-ahead single off of Brandon Woodruff. So yeah, he's been really impressive so far. He showed his power on that home run. It was just blasted. So yeah, Seiya Suzuki is already looking super comfortable.
Yeah, I sent you that tweet. Seiya Suzuki has seen 29 pitches that didn't hit the strike zone. He took 28 of them. 26 were correctly called as a ball. 2 of them were incorrectly called strikes. And the one that he chased was an RBI single off of Brandon Woodruff. He's walked as much as he's struck out so far. He had a home run. He's got 6 RBI. He looks like the real deal. Everyone talks so much about guys that come over from the NPB and having to really adapt to pitching. And so far, it looks like Seiya Suzuki's having no problems. I mean, he did really well against the Brewers rotation, which was in their opening 3-game series was Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta. Those probably the best 3-headed monster pitchers that he'll have to face this year. And he just kind of made him look a little silly. And obviously he's a rookie. He's 27 years old, so you'd have to expect a little bit more out of him. He is getting paid, but so far he really looks like the real deal. Cubs fans, like you said, Jake, I obviously am a Cubs fan. He has really, really just surprised me and probably become my favorite player on the team because he's fun to watch. He's exciting. He hit a home run, came out to Kendrick Lamar's Humble. He's just the best so far. Excited to watch him for the rest of the year.
It's going to be fun to watch. Now, from one guy that one of you guys called early, you got him in like the 5th, I think it was the 5th pick. And you guys look really good. But one guy that did not get drafted in the entire thing. I mean, I'm right there with you guys. I wasn't really a big buyer of it. I'm like, look, it's one season. But what did he have? Was it 11 strikeouts? He had
12 in 5 innings.
Strikeouts in 5 innings. And on the Giants, how did we miss this? Because the Giants is the perfect place for pitchers to go. Not that we missed it. It's just like, look, we had to see it to believe it. Now I see it, and I think I believe it. Is that premature to say? I guess we got to start with the Giants fan again.
Yeah, I don't know if you said his name, but yeah, Carlos Rodon or Carlos Rodam, like you just said in the electric in his debut. I didn't get to watch it. I wish I did. He was pumping that fastball in the upper 90s again. The Giants are going to get the most out of him, like we've talked about many times on this podcast. The Giants know what to do with veteran starters. They signed him to a pretty lucrative deal, even if it's just a couple years. But yeah, he was really good, and that Giants rotation is just going to be tough to beat. And Davis and I are going to look like complete idiots if this continues through the whole season. I don't think we were doubting his ability, except for like the velo drop at the end of the season. It's more like he's just got such a long injury history. Like it's hard to believe that he's going to do it again, but he's already showing like he's still one of the top aces in the league. And the Giants just have so many guys.
Yeah, me and Jake were kind of leading the Carlos Rodon hate brigade. And to be fair, this is before he signed with the Giants.
Yes.
And neither of us predicted that he would sign with the Giants. I don't remember what Jake picked, but I had the Braves.
I think I had the Angels.
Yeah, I think so. We look really stupid right now. He currently has a negative 0.54 FIP. So if this continues, he'll be worth negative runs. So it's early, but maybe we're wrong. Can't always be right. But we look kind of stupid so far on that one.
Hey, it's early, so anything could happen. He could get blown up in the next spot. I hope not for my fantasy team purposes, but moving forward, I'm gonna move really quick. Time is moving by so fast. When you're having fun, it just kind of
flies by.
Up. I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna do a little buy or sell, okay, for two guys here, and just a quick answer: do you buy and why, or do you not? I mean, of course, these are proven guys, but do you think this is going to be their year? They've had their ups and downs. I'm going to go with Bregman. Do you buy or do you sell? Jake. Jake.
All right. I'm going buy. I think he's got some of the best plate discipline in the league. He's obviously on the Astros. It's hard to root for him. But the Hot Start Player of the Week award for the American League, I'm buying.
I'm also buying. I've always been really high on Bregman. I've said it a couple other times on the podcast. I think he's one of the biggest bounce back candidates in all of baseball. He's probably got one of the best eyes in the league. Really good bat to ball skills. We've mentioned that about a million times this podcast. As long as he is hitting for power, and because that was a big issue he had last year, he just didn't really hit for a lot of power. Struck out a little bit more than he wanted to when he was trying to. I'm really in on Alex Bregman. Now,
here's another guy that not that I'd ever doubt. How could you ever doubt Mr. Arenado? But I just always was kind of worried with him leaving Coors. I'm like, you're going to have the same effect over there. We knew his defense was going to be good, but what's his offense going to be there? So far, so good. Again, he had a pretty decent year last year. Davis, are you buying or are you selling?
I'm going to be, just for posterity, I'm going to be out on Norman Arenado. I don't really like Arenado that much. He plays for the Cardinals. So I'm going to be the leader of that hate brigade today. It's early. He surprisingly was not that good offensively last year with the Cardinals. He had a 104 WRC plus. He's getting older. He's not the best. He's not even close to the best hitter on that team currently. I'm out on Nolan Arenado. His defense has gotten a little bit worse as well. He's aging. And that's just what happens. I'm not as big on Arenado as I used to be.
I agree with some of the things you said, but I think I'm going to have to buy. He was pretty disappointed by his own performance last year, and I know he started to tweak his swing and work on that kind of stuff. So it seems to already be paying off. I'm not gonna doubt a guy that looks like he's on pace for Hall of Fame with that defense as well. So I'm buying.
Okay. I think I'm going to continue the buy-sell thing. I think this is working out good so far. Let's couple these guys together. You, Darvish, and Sean Manaea, like I said, the new look Padres rotation. I know I buy, but buy or sell, Jake?
They're on the rundown because they had back-to-back hitless starts, which is super impressive. The Padres had never had a no-hitter before Joe Musgrove last year. Darvish, I think I'm selling. I think he's got too much on his plate. You know, he struggled towards the end of last year. I don't know if he's got everything down. He's also aging as well. But Manaea, I'm definitely buying. You know, coming over from the A's, he's on a better team. I think he's going to be amazing. I think he's finally going to get the national notoriety that he deserves.
I'm going to go ahead and buy both of them. Sean Manaea, just like Jake said, has been a very, very good pitcher for the Oakland Athletics, who rarely ever get a whole lot of major media attention. Yu Darvish is personally a little bit of homer, is one of my favorite players in all of baseball. I love Yu Darvish. You can catch me on Twitter. He's bad news. There's still the curse for Christian Yelich. That's why Christian Yelich has been bad. He said no one needs help facing Yu Darvish, and then he's been terrible ever since. So I wouldn't bet against Yu Darvish. I especially think this year with the Padres rotation getting a little bit of help extra with Manaea and with Clevenger coming back, and potentially with Mackenzie Gore coming up at some point this year, I think Yu Darvish won't have to shoulder as much of a load in that rotation and be one of the top end guys right at the front of it. They play in a pitcher friendly park. If they can get a little bit better defense behind him, I would be really, really in on Yu Darvish.
Okay. Look, we had 2 walk-off wins, okay? I'm not going to really comment because I don't know if I buy, but, you know, Josh Donaldson and Javier Baez. I think I buy Baez on the Tigers. I like that fit. Donaldson, I don't know. I want to say yes because I want to have hope, but I just got to see more. Davis, what do you think? Is there hope for me, and then what do you think about Baez?
I mean, you're just asking me to root against Javier Baez, and I'm not going to do that. We actually had 3 walk-off wins, and including Seth Beer. Well, I'll buy all 3 of them. Josh Donaldson is Josh Donaldson. He's the bringer of rain. He's obviously going to hit 1 million home runs in the Little League Park, Yankee Stadium. Javier Baez, even if he's still striking out, I mean, there's a bunch of clips going on of a slider that the catcher almost completely missed. He still swung at it. But Baez, he's electric. He's in a young team. He's going to still hit you 30 home runs, even if he does strike out 5,000 times. I like Baez. I like Donaldson. I actually really like Seth Beer. He had another walk-off for the Diamondbacks. And he's been really good in the minors, and he was pretty solid last year in short sample size. I'll buy all 3 of those guys that had a walk-off opening day weekend.
There were a few more than 3 walk-offs, but those were just some of the ones that are in the rundown. Yeah, that Seth Beer walk-off was so dope to watch. You know, that's sick on opening day. But yeah, I mean, you can't get a better debut than a walk-off in your first game for your team. You know, that's going to make the fans love you. It's going to make your teammates love you. You know, it's a great start for both of those guys, Donaldson and Baez.
All right. Now, we had a lot of hits, had a lot of home runs. Now, we also got hit by pitches a lot. And by the way, that Little League comment, I don't know how I feel about that. All right, moving on. They hit by pitches.
It is what it is.
And so, I don't know if that's a buy or sell, but quick reaction, Jake and Davis, what do you think? Who won?
Yeah, I didn't see much of that stuff live, but I know the Brewers have been not having much control over their pitches, and I'm sure the Cubs are pretty angry about that. And Nationals were in the same boat, hitting a few Mets players a little bit too close to the head. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting, especially to have that in the first weekend. Could be a tenuous relationship throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, the Mets were quite rightly a little annoyed with the Nationals when Francisco Lindor got hit in the head by a pitch. You know, everyone is going to be mad about that. There's no reason that should happen. In regards with the Cubs and Brewers situation, the Brewers have hit the Cubs more than any team in baseball since 2020. They've hit them 27 times. The Cubs have retaliated and hit them 26 times, which both teams need to knock it off. Wilson Contreras particularly, it almost always happens with Wilson Contreras because he's been hit by the Brewers 15 times in his career. And he's kind of over it every time it happens, even if it's on accident and he gets hit by like a curveball, you can really see him just kind of get pissy about it. Yeah, it's never good to have teams kind of retaliate and hit each other with pitches. It's really annoying. No one wants to see that unless like you're some old fogey that's like really protecting old American values where if you wrong me, I'm going to throw a rock 100 miles an hour at you. Yeah, I'm kind of over it. Both teams need to cool off with it.
Yeah, so look at all that. Like we literally took up this entire hour, and I feel like we still could probably go another 2 hours just talking about this. Now we are at the end. I got the producers yelling in my ear, like, "Look, you got to wrap it up. We got to get commercial break, ad revenue, all this stuff." But we do want to shout out. This would not be free baseball if we didn't shout out one guy. Heath Bell. And I think, normally we do this at the end, but Jake, do you feel like where should they go? Like, I want to hear a little bit about Heath Bell. Should they go to your Twitter? You got something for us, or?
Yeah. Follow me at Jake Crumpler. I'll tweet out all the research I did for Bell. He was going to close out the podcast today, but like you said, we had a ton to talk about. We didn't even get to everything we wanted to talk about, and Heath Bell would have closed out a wonderful podcast, and he still will. So if you're interested in hearing about Heath Bell's career, head over to my Twitter, and I'll post a quick thread about that.
Yes, and Davis, any final words before we wrap it up here?
Nope, that's it. I guess we'll see you guys next week. Talk about a lot more baseball.
Check out Deep Takes from 3 after this.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'll be right there, literally in like 5 seconds. Take care, guys.
All right.
See you guys.